imagine if there were 30 plus million, they keep saying it's 11, or 20, and it's well over 20 million illegals in this country. And nobody's saying that a lot of them don't work hard. Nobody's saying that these are bad people overall on average. The issue is they have been brainwashed, and they do vote, and I have the poll numbers right here, to take people's guns and to vote for more open borders and socialism and the end of private property rights. And they vote Democratic. And as bad as the Republicans are, they will soon be an extinct fringe party. And I'm going to be breaking that down today. And then Katie bar the door, because if the establishment can bring in unlimited groups of people that are on the government dole, basically paying for their votes, it's game over. They're having illegals vote all over the country already with driver's licenses that are issued by the states. That's on record. And then if you're against that, you're a racist. Well, I can't go to Mexico and go vote down there as an illegal. I can't get free welfare. If I show up in a Mexican hospital and try to have a baby, they're going to take the money out of me. And if not, they're going to throw the father, and this has happened before, in jail until the family back in El Norte pays it off. In fact, Mexico has some of the most draconian immigration laws in the world. Even the New York Times admits that. So it's totally hypocritical, and the goodwill of the American people is being used here. Just like the goodwill of the American people was used to get Obama elected, and now if you don't agree with what he's doing, you're racist. This is the race politics of the Democratic Party. The problem is all the big Republican associations, the Association of Manufacturing, the Association of Small Businesses, the different associations, the National Chamber of Commerce, are all pushing for this because, well, they push for the banker bailout. They push for gun control. They push for elitism. They push for getting rid of basic freedom in this country. And so you got the Republican leadership for it, the Democratic leadership for it, all these foreign banks for it, all the big blue blood Republican country club people for it, because they want a managed economy and they want to checkmate what's left of the middle class in this country. I mean, has NAFTA and GATT helped America? Did it help Mexico for that matter? No. In fact, in the last 25 years, you can look at the numbers, the top 1% has doubled its wealth. And they're the ones lobbying on average and pushing this whole so-called liberal agenda. It is not a liberal agenda. And I talked about this yesterday. You're a top Nazi collaborator, George Soros, you get ADL awards. If you fight fascism, you're called a Nazi. If you're the Democratic Party, running the Ku Klux Klan until 1963, publicly, then the demographics change. Whites overwhelmingly become anti-segregation and anti-racism. And so you flip and become the party of the minorities. This is a totally sickening joke, and it's a total hoax. And if Boehner and all the rest of these people are able to get what they want, this country is done. Legalizing more than 30 million illegal aliens, it's not 11 million, folks, is suicide for this country. And that the Republican Party is going to commit suicide demographically if they pass this. But they probably will. And Obama has already legalized the illegals by fiat and is letting them vote by fiat in race-based politics funded by the Ford Foundation and Carnegie Endowment in the last 60 years to create incredible increased racial animus on folks in Mexico and tell them it's a cultural duty to go to El Norte for La Reconquista, or the reconquering. And then you have the MSNBC crowd who will then continue the radicalization and then tied to that racial animus that is sold and packaged, you will then have attached to it the different sacraments of ban the guns, fully open the borders, get rid of the family, the race to the bottom. And America will fall like California is already falling. That is the game plan. That is the program. And you have the entire Republican leadership supporting it. You have the entire corporate global leadership supporting it because they want desperately poor people. And there's no economic study out there, I've got a stack of them I'm going to cover here in a moment, that doesn't say this won't drive down wages. There isn't a study out there that says this won't lower the standard of living. There's not a study out there that says that this will not cause the total, complete takeover by the Democratic Party of every institution in America. And then they get to have all their social engineering, everything else they're up to. Now, remember, the Democratic Party was able to dominate the South because of Lincoln, their enemy, until the early 1960s. And Eisenhower broke their back. People like my grandfather got elected to government in Texas. His father had been a mayor of a major city. He'd been a Democrat. My grandfather bucked it and became a Republican and a pro-Civil Rights Act. That was done all across the country, in every town and city. You saw those actions take place. The Democrats, and I've read the quotes by LBJ and others here on air, said, we've got to now act like we like these minorities and co-opt them, but we'll just play race politics the way we've done with poor whites. That's all it is, and they are master criminals at doing it. And the problem is they're very unpopular, and they could be defeated, but the Republican leadership is bought and paid for by the same interest. There is not a Dwight D. Eisenhower in the Republican Party right now. Those that could be, like a Ted Cruz or a Rand Paul, are under unmitigated attack and demonization. And as Pat Buchanan said today, we have an audio clip of this, he said, you know, Boehner will be out as speaker if he does this. They don't care. He'll get his big payoff. The guy plays golf with Obama constantly. It's all a big sick joke to these people. They're going to be rewarded for doing this, and they've made it a matter of some type of racial pride. Within the polls I've got at the LePew Research Hispanic Center, 83% of Hispanics think it's a duty in polls conducted by a Hispanic polling center in Spanish to take over, quote, America racially. So, see, that's the racial angle, and that's what's been sold. Well, meanwhile, the average white person is completely politically correct, hates themselves, and would feed their child into a garbage disposal unit if they were told it was something to prove that they're not a bad white person. And that's where all this goes. That's where all this happens. You know, the race issue at the end of the day doesn't even really mean anything. It's just a tribal identification, like Jew versus Palestinian, or Shiite versus Sunni, or black Muslim against black Christian. The globalists just need a dividing line. And this is the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that when I took U.S. history at in high school and then in college, all it was a demonization of gringos by white professors, and that America had to be destroyed. Well, the globalists want to destroy it and turn it into North American Union. It'll still have the big military. You'll still have the American flag. It's just will be totally conquered politically by a new racial bloc that will be used by the government to then basically menace the other racial blocs. And so we won't have a system based on liberty and freedom and due process and separation of powers and private property. It will be a fully big city, Chicago, New York style area where you'll have regional city council people who are racial. And you'll have the white area, the black area, the Hispanic areas, the Asian areas. And there will be wealth transferences from anyone who's middle class by projecting, that means white people, further socialism and wealth transfer, or you're a racist. Meanwhile, all the big rich people like Bloomberg and the rest of them, they're going to be exempt. The ultimate form of inequality, the ultimate form of discrimination. But the public hasn't been taught about real forms of discrimination and inequality. All they know is white is bad, white is evil, white must be eradicated, prove you're good, don't be white, don't marry somebody white if you're white, because that's racist. Doesn't matter if you're attracted to white people, that's bad. Show yourself as good. And so whites everywhere are engaged in suicide. And my issue is, if you love somebody and care about them, that's your issue. I don't have a problem with it. The point is, if it's force-fed, like trying to teach 5-year-olds how to be gay, this is an agenda. And it doesn't matter how many times whites run up the white flag. It doesn't matter how many times we commit suicide culturally. It's never good enough. It's all happening. You notice the globals are doing everything right now because they know that the entire population is waking up to Obamacare being a scam and waking up to the Federal Reserve being private, and they know the numbers show, quote, minorities are beginning to wake up to things and becoming more libertarian. If that continues another 10, 20 years, they could lose. We could actually educate all these folks. We could educate all the whites about the left-right paradigm, but we don't have that time. And so the globalists are racing right now to get their agenda through. And I'm just going to say this calmly. Imagine any other nation that had conservatively 25 million illegals, probably 30 plus. They always say 11 to 14. The last 8 times they tried to pass this same bill. They did it under Bush. 5 times. They've done it under Obama 3 or 4 times. Maybe it's 9 times. This is the 9th try, is it? And I want you to think about that, because the country is already collapsing economically. And if you legalize all these illegals, and in the last bill we saw, let them then bring their families in, we're talking about another 30 million in just a decade. And then it's expected. Food stamps, welfare, don't wear American flags on your shirt. That's hurtful at the San Francisco school. Even Hispanic kids can't wear American flags. I mean, this is all that we're taught. We're being overwritten. We're being totally conquered, and not by Mexico that's totally collapsed into hellhole squalor, the worst in Latin America, but by the globalists just simply using the ghost of some type of La Reconquista as the cultural football game. Again, people get into football games that don't matter. It's the same thing here, when that's not even what's happening. It is America being turned into the maquiladores. Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
See the full interview on our sister channel, The Info Warrior, or become a member of PrisonPlanet.tv and help us take the message of freedom and liberty to the next level. Thanks for watching. Spread this information far and wide, and please subscribe to The Alex Jones channel.